So, Regal Day, we will be tackling a very important topic in psychological testing: psychometric properties of a test. So, this is essential because as future psychologists, you will be administering, constructing, and interpreting psychological tests. And for you to do that responsibility, you need to understand how valid and reliable your test is. So let's start with an easy question. What comes to your mind when you hear the word psychometric? All right, so in simple terms, psychometrics is the science of psychological measurement. It is where we use statistical and theoretical methods to quantify psychological attributes such as intelligence, personality, and attitudes. According to Ross 2007, psychometrics is the foundation of psychological assessment and measurement. It is what ensures what the tools we use, just like the IQ test or personality inventories. So they should have a scientific quality. So what are the psychometric properties? Psychometric properties are the characteristics that determine the quality of a test. They tell us whether a test is adequate, useful, and appropriate for a given purpose. So, in other words, these properties tell us if our test really measures what it's supposed to measure and whether it does so consistently. So, let me ask you, if you weigh yourself on a broken weighing scale and get different results each time, can you trust that scale? Yes or no? And what is your explanation? Okay, so the answer is not definitely. The same applies to psychological tests. So for a test to be useful, it should have psychometric soundness. So meaning it is both valid and reliable. So these two are the major psychometric properties we will focus on today. The test validity. So let's start with the test validity. Validity means, are we measuring what we intend to measure? So for our example, if I constructed a test to measure anxiety, but most of the items measure depression, then my test lacks validity. So as Bandalos 2018 said, validity answers the question, what are we really measuring? Another from Messick 1995 further described validity as the overall judgment of how well theoretical and empirical evidence support the interpretation of the test scores. The types of validity. So there are several types of validity: content validity, criterion-related validity with concurrent and predictive subtypes, construct validity, and phase validity. So let us go through each with examples. So the content validity refers to how well the questions on a test represent the content and learning objectives they are meant to assess. So example, so you are creating a 100 item exam for field methods in psychology. So to have content validity, your test must cover all the relevant topics. So the introduction or the epistemological possession, ethics in research, quantitative or qualitative research. So, kung gusto mong i-measure kung gaano kahusay yung estudyante sa kabuuan ng subject, dapat lahat ng topics ay may coverage sa test mo. So, hindi lang isang part or isang modules, right? So, the experts usually establish content validity. They review the test and judge whether the items are appropriate and comprehensive. So, to ensure this, we often use the TOS or the table of specification. So this is a chart aligning the test content with learning objectives. So I have here a reflective question. Have you ever taken an exam that didn't cover what was taught in class? So how did that make you feel? So that class is an example of poor content validity. Number two, criterion-related validity. So this type of validity assesses how well the test scores relate to an external criterion or another standard or another benchmark measure. So it is sometimes called the empirical validity because it's verified through correlation. And there are two types. The first one is the concurrent validity. So this is when the correlation between the test and the criterion is established at the same time. So halimbawa, if you are validating a new depression scale, you may correlate it with Beck Depression Inventory or the BDI administered concurrently. So if the scores are highly correlated, then your test has high concurrent validity. The second one is the predictive validity. So this looks at how well a test predicts future performance. So ang example natin, the entrance exams are designed to predict college performance. So if the entrance test scores strongly correlate with the student's GPA after graduation, then it has strong predictive validity. So if you score high in the entrance test and later perform well academically, the test has good predictive validity. So kumbaga, sinusukat ng predictive validity kung kaya bang hulaan ng test ang magiging performance mo sa hinaharap. The third is the construct validity. So now, this is deeper and often the most complex type. Ang construct validity determines whether the test truly measures an underlying construct. So halimbawa, something abstract like intelligence, anxiety, or honesty. So halimbawa, may isang scale, it measures social anxiety. So this test should produce higher scores for people who are shy and lower scores for those who are outgoing. So because that pattern fits the theory behind the construct. Construct validity is tested using factor analysis to check if the items group logically under a single concept. So we look for convergent validity or yung sinasabi natin na scales measuring the same constructs correlate, and discriminant validity. So the scales measuring different constructs should not correlate. So again, we look for convergent validity and discriminant validity. The phase validity, this is the simplest type. So it asks, does the test look valid? So for example, a math test should show numbers and operations. If it looks like a reading comprehension test, examinees might get confused. So kung yung test sa psychology ay puro tanong tungkol sa algebra, so syempre magdududa ka talaga kung tama ba ang test na yon. Though it is not a statistical type of validity, phase validity matters because it affects the test taker's motivation and acceptance of the test. The importance of validity, it ensures the test achieves its purpose. It guarantees accurate data collection. It supports fair decisions for placement and certification. So imagine making admission decision based on an invalid test. So that would be unfair and unethical. Test reliability. So now, let's move on to the second important property, the reliability. So simply, reliability means consistency. The stability of a test scores over time or across the test versions. So let's say you took my psychology quiz today and you got 85 out of 100. Then you took the same quiz next week and you got 87. So it has close results. So that is a reliable test, 85 and 87. But if you got 85 today and 40 next week, so the test is unreliable. So in simpler words, is the test in simple words, is the test dependable and free from error? Reliability coefficient. So reliability is expressed as a number between 0 and 1. This is called the reliability coefficient. So the higher the reliability coefficient, the more reliable the test. So this is the reliability coefficient interpretation. Excellent, good, acceptable, questionable, poor, and unacceptable. So methods of establishing reliability. So let's go through the common methods. The test-retest method. So administer the same test to the same people twice, separated by time. So if scores are highly correlated, the test is stable. So example, so administering a stress inventory to employees in January and again in February to see if scores remain consistent. Equivalent form method, two different but equivalent versions of a test. Form A, Form B, so these are given to the same group. So if the correlation between the two is high, the test is reliable. So this is commonly used in standardized exams like SATs. Split half method. Administer the test once, split into two halves, the odd versus the even items, and correlate the two sets. And then you'll use the Spearman-Brown formula to adjust the full test reliability. The Kuder-Richardson, or the KR20 and KR21, this is used when test items are scored dichotomously, right or wrong. The KR20 is more accurate but complex. The KR21 is simpler but less precise. The Cronbach's alpha, this is used when test items are rated on scales like Likert, strongly agree, and so on. So higher alpha means internal consistency, so that all items measure the same constructs. And in applied settings, we considered 0.7 as acceptable reliability. The factors affecting reliability, the difference in test environment and administration, test taker's mood, fatigue or motivation, ambiguous items, learning or forgetting between test-retest sessions. The relationship between validity and reliability. So to summarize the relationship, look for the aspect, validity, and reliability. So as a future psychologist, always remember, a psychometrically sound test is both valid and reliable, and it should accurately measure the construct intended and consistently produce trustworthy results. So before using any psychological tool, be it an intelligence test, personality inventory, or academic assessment, you ask yourselves, is this test valid for my purpose? Is this test reliable enough to give consistent results? Well, because in psychological testing, our goal is always maximum accuracy and fairness, ensuring that every result we interpret truly reflects the individual's psychological attribute.